Right, well, you're used to hearing me speak about gas safety, carbon monoxide, silly stories, things like that. But I haven't really discussed with you bathroom installations. It's something that really you need to see. So clearly for me, this 10-minute item is an ideal opportunity to show you the kind of things that we turn out. Well, before I show you, I've got a couple of jobs and they're both individually in their own merits. But before I just show you that, I'll tell you a little bit about how I started and why I do things the way I do. Has anybody around the table heard of a company called Smallbone Kitchens or Smallbone of Devices? No? Okay. When I was first qualified, I got a job working for Smallbone, and at the time they were the only kitchen manufacturer or kitchen showroom that had a showroom in Harrods. So you can imagine they were extremely expensive kitchens. Beautiful. We used to do a lot of work for, obviously, the rich and famous, MPs, rich Arabs, American bankers. I've done work for Ozzy Osbourne. He was more famous than his wife at the time. Mark Knopfler. You may have heard of Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits. Virginia Wade, for those of you not young enough, she won Wimbledon in 1977. I remember going to one job and the man next door came out to his car as I was going into the house and I said, "Good morning, Bob." That was Bob Geldof. So that's my claim to fame. I work next door to Bob Geldof. But of course, as you can imagine, it's not really a case of name dropping. The idea of mentioning that is because you can imagine that the work was an extremely high standard. We did work in Belgravia, I did work on Horse Guards Parade, South Kensington and places like that, where really money was no object, which was helpful to me. But the standard was extremely high, so of course there was no room for error. And of course cleanliness and care was very, very important. Well, as time passes by, I of course got fed up with working in London, so of course I really wanted to work locally. And that same high standard I want to carry on doing. I get a great deal of pleasure from a high standard, high quality work, and so does Thomas. So there's a couple of jobs, and they're fairly typical. They're the kind of things that you can look out for, because the first one in particular is just a working family. The two children have grown up, they've now started to go to work, and very often people find that their hot water requirements aren't enough, their bathroom requirements aren't enough, there's a bit of a row to get in the bathroom in the morning and so on. So they wanted something that was functional, but something that looked pretty snappy. And as you'll see from the pictures, what they had was a bit tired. So John and I called this job one. Job one doesn't want to work. What am I doing wrong, John?
Carry on with that. Let's have a little look.
I'm getting the green light.
This before.
Apparently it did it before, it's not me. It's stuck.
Yeah, he did this when I first came in. Look, it's just nothing's one for plumbing.
Is it worth turning on?
You have to boot it all back. Won't even escape out of it.
While John's trying to recover the situation there, the second job was a regular customer of mine, someone I've known for some time, so she had implicit trust anyway. And she moved into a retirement home, and the bathroom was very, very small indeed. And she really wanted to get more in this room, which seemed unlikely. And in particular, she was having difficulty getting out of the bath, like a lot of people do as they get older. And the gist of it really was that we had to pull the bath out, take out a massive box in that included the services for other flats in the building. Oh, marvellous. I'll come back to that at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
So we called this job one before and after, so you'll see the kind of beginning and end basically. Right, so it's a fairly tired looking bathroom suite. Corner bath, you'll see the towel rail. They wanted to pull that out and put a shower in. and fill the space. Loo and basin and shower cubicle. Now behind the shower cubicle was the airing cupboard, and the airing cupboard was quite a slim airing cupboard. There was a slim cylinder in there, and by and large they were running out of hot water. The hot water recovery wasn't quick enough, so we needed to update the hot water system to do that. That involved increasing the size of the airing cupboard. So that's again the beginning. So there's the airing cupboard, slim cylinder, an old-fashioned gravity system which was pretty hopeless for what they needed. So we pulled it apart. There's Tom there, yanking the wall to bits and pieces. So of course we pulled it all down. The ceiling came down. You can see it's an old Artex ceiling. We were going to tile the floor, so the floor needed reinforcing. So there I've increased the size of the airing cupboard now. That's where the bath was. You can see the floor's a bit grubby. Now I've replaced the floor. We've got a decent plywood floor. The tray's in position. The mixer is up there on the left-hand side. That's in position, and that's ready to rock and roll. And as you can see pretty well, I've taken the photographs from the same positions, so you can see what it looks like on sort of as it's progressing. New ceiling. I quite like plastering ceilings for some reason. Spotlights in there. They're very, very popular at the moment. And now the tiler's been. So the tiler's done his bit, and I've come back to second fix. You can see he made a cracking job of the tiling. This particular tiler, although I'm sure Tony can do the same, was very good. He joined up all the lines on both sides. That joined the lines on the floor, so it looked like a checkerboard. It was fantastic. Took a lot of care over it. There's the back of the airing cupboard where the old shower was. So I've then come back to second fix it. So now the pottery's back in position. Shower screen's up in position. Mirror you can see over the wash basin. No pipework visible. No grubby boxing. And obviously the family were delighted with that. There's some storage there as well, backing onto the airing cupboard. Obviously they were delighted with the outcome there. It suited their needs, and the hot water now recovers quick enough for them to have one shower after another, which was a need. And this was the second one, as I say, the elderly person that was struggling to get in the bath or get out of the bath. So first thing I had to do was pull all the services out. So that's pretty well the first day. I smashed the ceiling down. The walls are coming off. Great big waste of space where this vent pipe was going through, and you can see the extractor up there on the top left. That really needed to come out, because what I wanted to do was build a cabinet. It was such a small room that we couldn't get cabinets small enough to fit. So I said to the lady, well, I'll build it and we'll get the tiler to tile it. It'll be accessible. I think it'll be great. So it's coming together now. This particular lady, actually, she went on a cruise for a month. She gave me the key and she went away for a month and let me get on with it, which was quite a sensible way of dealing with it. So now what I've done there, the vent pipe is now moved over to the left, the extractor's out of the way, and I've boxed everything into the corner. I know it looks a bit of a pig's ear at the moment, but you'll see what happens as it comes together. So there's my cabinet. I've now shaped that out, ready for the basin. You can see there's an access panel there. The sanitary pipe works out of the way, and I've boxed it in the corner. Gradually it comes together. Then the tiler comes. Again, I plastered the ceiling. Spotlights, very, very popular. You can see these shower screens are also very popular with outdoors these days. And to get the pressure for the shower, I had to put the tank up in the loft. Actually, it was a communal building, but there was a loft there that I could use. So the tank went up in the loft, and I built a stand about 10 foot up in the loft to generate fantastic pressure on the shower. And as you can see, it's much nicer than it was before it started. The kick space under the basin there, that's a simple device for me. I can simply put my hands under there, pull that out, and I can get in and get to everything that I've done and everything that I need to get to. I'm getting flagged up to ask for questions. So basically I think my time's up. Has anybody got any questions? Kevin.
Oh, just a question for you. From a business point of view, do you prefer new build work, or would you like refurb work on existing buildings?
I'm not really interested in new building. The reason I'm not interested in new building is I'm not really considered competitive enough. As I said in my outset, what I want to do is high quality stuff. builders aren't generally looking for high quality. They've got a profit to make, and the cheaper plumber they can get in, the better for them. It's not something that's worth me chasing. By and large, people that use me know of work that I've done. I've done something for a friend of them, or they've seen something that I've done, and on that basis they're usually prepared to part with the sort of money that I need to do a decent job. Paul?
Well, mine's a testimonial really. Paul came round and did our downstairs bathroom, upgraded it. Yeah, I'd recommend Paul any time. He's done a really great job. It's great fun to have round. Have plenty of coffee though, because he would drain the coffee bottle. My mum found out, but
And biscuits.
Standard of work, the finish of it, it's absolutely great. So I recommend Paul any time.
Marvellous, thank you, Paul. Helen?
Yeah, just quickly, how much roughly, like job one for example, how much roughly should you budget if you're going to...
Right, I knew someone would ask me that, so I looked that up. Right, job one, okay, so that was back, I can't tell you everything, but I can tell you broadly. My bill, if I can just flick back through, just to show you what we're looking at. So it's this job here,
Yeah.
okay? To upgrade the hot water system to a fully pumped system was the best part of 2 weeks' work. That was £2,500. Okay, the bathroom itself and the building work was about 4k. You've got to add to that the cost of what the tiler charged. I don't know what he charged. Okay, and you've also got to add to that the cost of the sanitary ware and the fittings and so on. I do go to a lot of trouble with people before we start. This one here, again, I had to alter the hot water system now, put tanks in the loft, put a new hot water cylinder in and so on. That one was 3.8k, and it was about 1.6k to update the hot water system. But again, the tiler charged separately for that, and the sanitary ware was separate to that. I was going to say, I do go to a lot of trouble with people before we start, sussing out what equipment we're going to use in conjunction with the plumbing system they've got. I go to a lot of problems where the incorrect shower's been fitted or the incorrect taps have been fitted, the shower won't drain away for one reason or another, and it's not a problem for me to go back a number of times before I start a job. In fact, I say to people, look, this is an initial assessment, go and have a look in the showrooms, come back to me, tell me what you've picked, and then we'll go through it more thoroughly and make sure that this is going to work when we're finished, and of course the outcome's fantastic. Any other questions? Kevin? Go on, Vicky.
I was just going to ask, when you have a project with somebody, do you kind of do that project for them above other stuff, or do you kind of do a little bit for them, then leave them for a couple of days and go and do something else, then come back to them again?
It's a good question. Obviously there's two of us, so I can prioritise that job, so I can send Thomas on other jobs. So that will become what I call my primary job. If something crops up that's urgent, then I'll have to go and deal with it. I've usually got a good enough relationship with somebody to be able to do that. So that'll become my primary job. Very often I'll come to the point where I've got to pull away and the tiler's got to get on. Maybe the tiler won't be ready to start immediately. So jobs the time span can run on, basically. People are often surprised when I tell them you've got to expect a month or 6 weeks to turn a room round. Because a lot of guys will go in and say, oh yeah, we can do this in 3 days. And of course I'm telling them it's going to take 6 weeks. And they say to me, well, you know, what's the big difference? And of course I say to them, it's going to take me 3 days just to pull everything out, get the ceiling down, get the floor up, chop the plaster off and see what I've actually let myself in for. They're not aware of what's going on or what's going to need to happen. And clearly a lot of guys will tell them a load of old cobblers just to get the job. Whereas what I'm telling somebody is quite realistic. I've done it for 3 decades, I know what's involved.
60-minute makeup made our trade really difficult.
yeah, crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Go on, Kevin.
So I want to say, obviously, what I'm saying today, from my opinion, I'm sure you said it been in the group, quality of what you do is like the other traders in this group, like Tony, Terry, and Andy, who have got trades in this group. BNI shows, I think, quality more than quantity.
Yeah, it is about that.
I think the visual of that is quite powerful.
Good. Yeah, it's not something I can do in 60 seconds. I thought this was ideal to just show you. But the main thing for picking those 2 jobs is they're ideal for you to refer. I'm looking primarily for families that are growing because they need a decent bathroom as time goes on. and generally as people get older, they struggle to get in and out of bars. It's quite typical for me to yank a bath out and just put a shower in. Doesn't have to be the whole room, but they're typical sort of things that we deal with.
Are there any other questions from the group, please?
Can I just say something very quickly?
Got
I've only worked with Paul a couple of times, but I've worked with a lot of shit plumbers. He really does.
Is that a technical term?
Yeah.
No, they do go together.
He really does think about who's coming in after him, so everything's in the right place. So as the finishing trade comes in, it's all done, and it makes my job a lot easier. So
Tell them about the plastering.
his plastering's better than a lot of plasterers. That's an extra 30 quid.